Okay.
And then, yes. Hello. Welcome back. This is very exciting. We have another Angular RFC discussion. This one is, actually, this one was on the calendar first, and then we had another one yesterday. We're just kind of putting them all in. So we invited Alan because Alan is the author of the champion of the RFC persistent build cache by default. So I believe, Alan, if I'm not correct, this was an experimental opt-in feature, and now you're kind of looking at just keeping it by default and just seeing if anybody has questions, comments, concerns, anything like that.
Right? Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Awesome. And so we have these, so the Angular team opens these RFCs on GitHub and invites the community to come and discuss on GitHub. But I know a lot of introverts. And so it's not that easy sometimes to just throw stuff on GitHub. It can be intimidating sometimes. Not for Sonder, but for other people it can be intimidating. So I really love to invite the Angular team to just come and hang out with us and discuss. So that's what this is. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. And without further ado, Alan, you want to say hello? And maybe just tell us how the weather is in Malta and tell us a little bit about your RFC.
Sure. First, thanks for having me once again. It's always a pleasure to be here. And hi, everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, weather is super hot. So let me share my screen and let's talk about the RFC. Yep. Okay, so in Angular CLI version 12.1, we have introduced an experimental opt-in feature to enable persistent build cache. What this does, after the first cold build, it stores build information on disk, and then other builds will become warm instead of cold. So certain information can be reused across builds. The advantage of this is that these second builds are much faster. However, there are some implications that one is that it will require more memory, and also it uses more disk space because the cache needs to be saved on disk. That being said, the improvements that we saw and the feedback that we gathered from the community so far is that real world applications improve the speed for the build, the serve, and the test commands for up to 68%. And yeah, so with this RFC, what we are trying to achieve is we'd like the community to give us some feedback on how this flag and feature affected their application in terms of what is the observed memory increase, if any, what is the decrease of the build or test times, and also we are asking the community on feedback on a potential new command to enable and disable and purge the cache, which we'd like to introduce, i.e. ng cache. And yeah, so far the feedback from the community has been excellent, and yeah, that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions, any concerns.
Yeah. Sorry, I gave you some extra work to do on the CLI.
Yeah, I saw your comment. No, that's fine. I mean,
I think it makes sense.
We do these RFCs to gather feedback from the community. So, I mean, this is the reason why we do the RFCs.
I know. I think the command line option is in addition to adding it to the angular.json.
Yeah.
because if it's an Angular.json, as Oliver commented, it is for some toolings easier to control. Depends on your mileage, I think. I think it's very easy for the people to control it if you put it on the CLI like I proposed.
Yeah, I think there should be somewhere listed that it would be. Yeah, we also intend to introduce a new command, ngcache. I see that it was actually not just backtick to make it more clear. No. But that wasn't the intention to create a new command which can be configured via Angular.json or via the CLI.
Yeah.
I see someone wants to ask a question.
Aristides.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Alan.
Hi.
I would like to ask if there will be major improvements according to the size of the application. For example, if a large application will benefit more than a small to medium-sized Angular application with this feature.
Well, it varies on a number of reasons. It depends. The cache basically will improve your build time. It depends on one, if there are any change files or no between the first and the second build, and
Right.
and also what type of change you do. So, for example, if between the first build and the second build you do not touch any files, then the improvement between the small and a large application is not that big. As in, the difference of performance improvement between a small application and the big application is not that big. But then if you touch, let's say, a TypeScript file between the first and second build, it varies a bit more. It's more. I'm
Cool,
not sure if I'm
thanks.
stating correctly. As in,
Yeah, sure.
okay.
Thanks.
Alexi?
And thanks, Bonnie. Hi, Alan. Can you explain for those who are new, I didn't participate on the yesterday meetup, how I can use this feature? It's built in Angular 12 version, or I need to do some additional installations?
Sure. Okay, so it's actually in Angular CLI 12.1 and above. And to enable to opt into this feature, you need to use the ng persistent build cache environment variable. You can set it either via the command line or in your environment. So it's just this one here.
Okay, got it. Thanks. And another question: we can use it in product. I mean, okay, we can use it for development, but it's in a beta stage, or we can use it in for production.
So this flag doesn't affect the outcome of the bundle. So
okay,
the code itself, it will be the same. This only affects the cache for the builds. In terms if you can use it for production or no, you can use the build cache to build a production build, yes.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
When using the build cache, when using the build cache to build for production builds, what happens is that results from trsor, CSS optimizations, and so on and so forth are stored on disk. So if a file didn't change, we do not need to re-optimize it for every build.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alan, can I ask another question?
Yeah, go ahead.
If I have an NX application, what would be the best tool to use? Because I know that NX has something similar. Should I go with the NX build cache? I don't remember how it's called, right? So if my repository is a monorepo with NX DevTools, should I use the NX build cache, or do you think that the Angular CLI cache will be similar or much better?
I'm not quite sure how NX cache works under the hood.
I can answer this if you want.
Sure.
The NX cache works similarly as this one. There are some differences though. They have those are technical. I will not go into there. But the big change is that you can share the NX cache between computers. If you have a license, they will copy the things that are in your cache to their central server, and it can be downloaded by other people in the project, which is a huge boon if you are working in a large team and a lot of people are building on the same thing, because it means that you save time for every user, even on first build. But it works a little bit differently. I think this is more granular and can have a little bit better effect locally. The downside, it's not shared.
Yeah, that is right. It's not shared.
Yeah, it was a good question because I also was wondering how you can use it in combination with NX workspaces.
I think probably you can use both together to get the maximum benefit.
I'm pretty sure that once this is a thing, the NX team will pick it up and will integrate with their own cache. So I think it's a really nice proposal. Perhaps there should be an option that it is off by default in CI/CD, but I'm not entirely sure how to detect that, because I did some detection for CI/CD, but it's like different in every situation.
Typically, CI environments will provide a CI environment variable. So yeah, by default,
the operating word here is typically.
Yeah.
It's I have been doing something like this for another project, not even Scully, but for another project where I wanted to know if I was building in CI/CD or locally. That was a can of worms that I happily will leave shut for the rest of my life. But if you can basically make an environment variable and say, hey, check if that's there, we are not going to use it, which is in line with all the other things we have already, so it should not be a big problem. I think we have another question.
Yeah.
Hi guys, it's a pleasure to be here. I have been using this. Yeah, thanks.
I like your profile picture. Can you actually play the guitar? That's what I want to know.
I can. Yeah, I'm still a beginner, but yeah.
Me too. I have a guitar, but I can't play it, so you're already ahead of me. Welcome. I just want to say hi. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Ask your question.
Thanks, Pony. For some reason, my webcam is not working.
That's okay. Neither is Alan's, and he's our guest, so it's fine.
Yeah. So I have been using this feature for some while, and it's really helping me a lot for my current project. It has grown quite large, and the build times has decreased significantly after this thing. I have been trying to add it as a npm script, package.json script, but I was unfortunately not being able to do it in a Windows environment. So could you help me on that, Alan, or someone else who have faced the same thing?
Yeah, to set an environment variable on Windows, it's a bit different. I believe I don't know, I can type in the chat. I believe you need to do something like this. think it was. I'm right in the chat. I think it was something like this on Windows.
Yeah, I don't think you can do the NN on Windows. I think it's just a new line in your batch file.
No,
From-
he's saying on in the package JSON.
Oh, yeah, might work there.
Yeah, and otherwise just use, what is it, cross-env, the package. You can do it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, let me write it down for you also.
Actually, yeah, you need to use the %.
The problem is if you set it in your package JSON for Windows and you have some CI/CD, which is probably not on Windows, it will break there. So the cross-environment thing Jeffrey proposed will work basically cross environments, which is like the way to go for those kinds of things.
Yeah, in case you have cross environments, yes, that's the
Yeah.
way to go.
At least it's easier.
Well, there are multiple ways to do it, but yeah.
Yeah, I already tested it. Thanks, guys, for saving me.
Sure.
You're welcome.
So Alan, are there any plans to do like hook-ins on this so that we can make a similar thing like the NX, just build your own cache, for example, in your own company, that you can say, okay, I want to store it there? Random question, just popping from my head.
So probably in the future, we would like to implement a way to set the path for the cache. But other than that, we do not want to expose too much. And the idea behind this is that if the underlying technology changes, this basically depends on Webpack API. And if we move away from Webpack API to something else, we want to reduce the breaking changes as much as possible. And that is one of the reasons that typically we do not support any specific Webpack APIs, even like in your application.
Yeah, can imagine.
Because Webpack is, for us at least, is an implementation detail.
Okay, thanks.
So let's hope we can move the implementation detail to Vite or something like that. ES build.
We are already using ES built in the CLI.
Already?
Yep.
Cool.
It's been there since 12.2. And we're currently using it to optimize CSS and JavaScript.
Cool.
As a minifier.
I currently don't have any more questions around this. It's pretty clear. I have checked on a couple of my applications and I don't see any. I do see increased memory usage, but it is not in any way problematic. I didn't check disk usage, but I think that's also a really small issue.
What we're more interested in is actually the memory increase, because in some cases you might have limited memory in a CI environment or something like that.
Yeah, but if that's a problem, you can just turn it off.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like of very limited usage in a CI/CD environment to begin with, unless you are sharing, you are keeping your npm modules and stuff like that. If you have some caching set up, then it would be helpful. But at the same time, I'm not sure that's a good idea. Then you have to do cache invalidation and stuff like that. And we have run into some problems there not too long ago.
Do we want to launch a poll and vote?
Sure.
Persistent build cache. Enable it by default? Heck yes, we love it, let's go. Or it's promising, but let's continue discussing. Or heck no, scrap it, we don't want it.
Just
What do y'all think? Now you got to vote.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, now we've got two. Okay. It's good. It's good if the votes actually are not all equal. One time it was like a yes or no question and the votes were exactly 50-50. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. Okay, I'm going to show, hold on. We've got, how many people are in this call? We've got 12 people in the call, but we only had 5 votes. So if you want to vote on this, let's see. Okay, that's 7 votes.
Does it
All
mean
right.
when we vote that this will be the thing that Alan needs to do?
Yeah. I mean, that's what the RFC is for. Should I enable it by default, right?
Yes.
Yes or no? He's got to walk out of here with results, y'all. All right, I'm going to show everybody. We've got 8 votes. I'm going to leave it open in case anybody who hasn't voted wants to vote. But so far, we have overwhelmingly heck yes, Alan.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, there's another vote for heck yes.
I don't see any reason why not.
Yeah.
Me neither, but I'm curious about the people that say, hey, let's talk more. I'm not going to put you on the block.
I will. Okay, whoever, but if you want to be on the block, let's talk about this. Does anybody want to volunteer that you voted? Let's talk more. Eris looks very mischievous. I think it was him. See? Did I call it or what? Eris,
Yeah.
you decide. And
That
Alex,
was me.
Alexi, were you the other one?
Yeah, it was me.
I can tell by their faces, you guys. They're not done discussing this. I love it.
I
You're not out
would,
of time. Don't worry.
yeah, we have still time. I'm curious why you're hesitant about this. Why would you like to talk more? What's the?
They're going to tell us.
Yeah.
I was thinking that to enable it by default, but if it caused some bugs or I don't know, maybe can we have some can we have some problems? It will, in case it would be by default enabled.
Well, I think that's why he's got it as experimental. But we keep jumping over Aristides, so I want to hear what Aristides has to say too. But I think that's where it is now. It's an experimental feature.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that at the moment is experimental. So we get our feedback from the community, and if there are bugs or problems, issues are filed, and the community, and eventually we'll try to solve them before turning this on by default.
When the feature will be stable, I mean, to be enabled by default, it's okay. It's okay. But until it can cause some problems, I mean, it could be the situation when you will have let's say the code will not be updated because it was cached and you will not understand where to search. I mean, if you will not know that there is a feature.
I have had that problem before. I've had that problem. Like I had a mirror server where there was the code and then everything was being mirrored to another server just like automatically, just for like redundancy, except I was hired and no one told me. And so I was actually changing the code that was mirrored and it was being overwritten every single day. And my boss was getting mad at me because my work wasn't done. And I was like, I swear I did this. It was making me insane, you guys. Sorry, Alexi, you just reminded me of a traumatic moment in my past. Make sure they know.
I had the same problem and I spent 1 day to find the problem. And when I find the problem, I say, oh my God, it's ridiculous.
Can't do that. All right, I want to bring it back to Aristides because he is so sweet and he's quiet and he won't interrupt us, but he's really smart. So I always want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, usually I'm working with small and rarely to medium Angular applications, and my builds are already very fast. So if we have something this by default, I think that it will not have so much benefit for my use case.
Do you think
I
it would
don't-
have a detriment?
No, but I would not see any. I think that we will not see any difference.
Well, I think by default would be like we want to guide everybody towards the best practices, right? Is that your thought too, Alan?
So no, every application will see a benefit. Like for example, on an NG new application, which is like the bare minimum, it improved the speed by 75%. And that is just an application which has 2 components.
Right. Yeah,
I think you
just
convinced
wanted
him.
to say that. I just wanted to say that I'm very happy with the current build situation of the Angular CLI. Right.
I'm glad to hear that.
If it's 75%, can I vote again?
I don't know
Can,
how.
can I can
I
I can I can I
don't- you want
change
to
my
change your
vote?
vote?
Yeah, I want to change my vote. Let's go. Let's
Yay!
we
What
love
about
it.
you, Aristides? Are you
No, this
convinced?
doesn't improve
No.
incremental build times, but only the code, which becomes Swarm. So when you type in the command the first and second time, not when you change a file when ng service running in watch mode.
I just wanted to add something about being experimental and then turn it on by default. When it is experimental, there is only a really small group of people that are going to play with it. So the Angular team will get feedback, and probably that is the feedback they have been looking for, but it is not a guarantee that it will work all over. So if this thing becomes a default, probably there will be a couple of bugs, but those kind of things that have happened before, and usually they are fixed within a day or 2 days. So don't be too afraid. Hey, I'm going to work with something experimental because the thing is really, really tested. And if something pops up, there is a very quick fix or a very quick rollback of this thing. So the concern about, hey, this might affect my application while I'm not knowing it, can be only very temporary. And
Also, I think the Webpack, well, because it's Webpack and the caching strategies of Webpack, that's adopted probably heavily, not only by the Angular team. So probably the bugs from the Webpack part are already, well, let's say at least founded, the most of them. So
yeah, I think it's stable enough.
Are you going to expose the build information from the build cache also to Angular Dev Tools? Do you have any such plans?
Not yet.
Oh, but I requested an ng cache statistics.
Yeah, I saw yours.
Sounded spoiled.
No, that is just the statistics is like a nice thing, and people like to know how much cache am I using, and it's to satisfy curiosity. It would be nice.
maybe it couldn't just be on the what is it, ng version, or what is it, with all the versions?
Yeah.
If you need some help, then put it in there so that you know that people are using the cache and they have like a lot of gigs there, and there's a problem maybe there, something like that. So that you also, when people report an issue, don't have to do ng version and ng statistics, for example. I'm not sure. Maybe it can help.
Okay, so what ideally we would like for him to come out of this with a yes or no, and I think we've got most of the yeses. But Alexi, you mentioned that before we make it default, that we should have some time to kind of just to make sure it's stable, right? I think is your concern.
Mm-hmm.
Alan, how long has it been an experimental? Because it's already been experimental for a while. Oh, in the version 12.1.
Yeah.
So how long? So it hasn't been out very long.
It's a couple of months.
So maybe, do you feel like we should like leave it as experiment? Because I feel like obviously it's a cool feature and I think we definitely want it. Do you feel like it should be left as experimental and discussed more? Or do you guys feel like And I'm asking Alexi and Aristides really at this point because I want to discuss it more, but also like, what do you think? Like Alexi, you said to leave it experimental for a while. Do you think it should be experimental? Because it looks like that's what he's doing, right? It's experimental, and then we're talking through it. Do you think it should be experimental longer just to give people more exposure beyond a few months?
I think if it's, I think if when it would be quite stable, it should be enabled by default. If it's increased by the 75%, the speed of even creating the new application or working on an existing application, it makes a lot of sense, because I was working on the application, and because of the architecture, each modification took a long time for it recompiled to rebuild everything. And I didn't use the NX workspaces, so it was the pure and like the basic way of building the Angular application. So yeah, I think it could be enabled by default when, I mean, we can be sure it will be stable.
Yeah. You mentioned when you change a file, this doesn't affect incremental builds. This only affects the cold build, which makes it warm. So when you run the command from the CLI, for example, when you type in ngserve the first time and not it being in watch mode.
Okay, I got it.
All right.
So if before, when you typed ngserve, it took, I don't know, 2 minutes to first launch your application, now that will be reduced by, I don't know, 68, 50%. It depends on the size of the application.
Okay, so it will increase the start of the application. When you change the files, it doesn't increase how you say it's incremental change. It doesn't affect. It decrease or it doesn't affect.
So when you start when you start your application, it decreases the time.
Okay.
During an incremental build, it doesn't have any effect.
Okay.
So basically it's because it's taking everything and it's optimizing it at the beginning, because it has a lot of information. It's making everything into optimize. So then when you add something else, it's not going to be really optimized because it already has everything optimized, basically. Something like that, right?
Yeah. So basically what happens is that after the first build, so when you type ngserve, all the information of your build is saved on disks, so that when you exit that command, ngbuild, ngtest, ngserve, and you spawn it again, instead from starting the build from scratch without zero information, it will read the information from disk and it can reuse it, so that the second build or second test, instead of being cold, it becomes warm. You sort of pre-warm the build with the information available already on disk.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I want to pick on Aristides again because I want to circle back. I want to launch this. I want to launch another poll. What do you think? How are you feeling about this, Aristides?
Okay, I have total faith to the Angular CLI core team. So if they think that, no, really, Sander, don't laugh. If they
Don't
think
laugh,
that,
Sander. That's not a joke. He really does.
Yeah. So if they think that it should be as the default situation, I'm with them.
Who is on the CLI team, Alan? Do you still have Hans? I love that guy. I haven't seen him in forever.
Who?
Hans?
No.
Who's on the team?
So at the moment, it is myself.
Uh-huh.
There's Charles.
We haven't met Charles yet.
And there is Douglas.
We haven't met Charles or Douglas.
Ooh.
Will you tell them that we want to meet them? Tell them that we're very nice and bring them to us. We'll be nice. We'll be on our best behavior, I swear, Alan. We'll set up a hallway tracks at one time and just like because it's really cool to like have a face behind the name, you know. We see you guys on GitHub, but it's really, I think, at least for me, I might just speak for myself, but I think it's intimidating to talk to like people on the Angular team. But once we've met you and like we get to talk to you and we realize you're a real person, it's easier to then go and interact with you on GitHub. At least that's my opinion. Okay, anybody else want to vote in this poll? I'm going to show everybody the results so far. Well, we've got how many people? 13 people on the call, only 4 votes. But I think it's pretty clear. I mean, it's pretty unanimous, Alan, that we have gotten some good results from this discussion. And so far, everybody's voting yes. Yay! Woohoo! We know we have met Alan Sonder. He just doesn't have his camera on today, but we have video of him with the and he also answers us on Slack. I'm pretty sure he's real.
We met even in person, so.
Yeah, I know we have met in person.
All right.
Alan, can I just ask one question, quick?
Yeah.
Easy question. Did you do also like checking how much the difference is between the caching with, for example, Bazel and that kind of stuff? How much quicker that one is versus this one? I know it's not the same because you got the Webpack stuff in there going on, and I'm not an expert on Bazel, but
well, in that case, so it depends how you orchestrate Bazel as well. So there are multiple ways how you can use Bazel in Angular. So one of the approaches is basically to use Bazel to invoke the CLI. In which case, if you change a single file in an application, Bazel will run the entire build of your application. In which case, Bazel cache will not help you. Where if you do not touch any file, then the cache for Bazel will help you because it will completely skip the build. So they are not slightly, they are quite different, but in terms of performance improvements from one another, it really depends how you set up Bazel.
yeah, okay, yeah, that's what I thought, but I was just curious.
Good question.
Well, I'm a noob on the Bazel, so I could ask the questions.
All right. Any more questions? Any more comments? Any
Great
final
job.
thoughts for Alan? Alan, I
great.
think it's a go.
Yeah, just go with it. Do it.
Do
Ship
it.
it.
Do it.
Ship it.
Awesome.
Okay, we have a few minutes left, but I am going to go ahead and close this out like I always do. I'm going to ask everyone, please, to come off mute and thank our guests, and then I'm going to end the recording, and we have a few more minutes. We can hang out and socialize if you guys want. So, everybody come off mute. Say thank you to Alan. Alan, thank you so much for spending your time with us today. We appreciate you. We love it when you come and nerd out with us. You should come back anytime.
Yeah.
Thank you, oh grateful.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Alan.
It's always
All right.
good to be here. Thank you very much.
It was
Thank
short
you.
and
Come
sweet.
back soon and often. What's that, Rob?
I said it was short and sweet.
Great.
All right, everybody, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you all soon. And you can stay in the call if you want, and we'll just socialize for a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.